Welcome to Dog Hugs. Spider is really happy to see you guys. Obviously, so am I. We're going to talk about movie dogs today. We're going to show you some movie dog tricks, and we're going to bring on somebody very special, Jone Bouman, who keeps animal actors safe during filming. So first, to get Spider busy, let's talk about some movie dog tricks. Let's walk from the laundry lounge over into the studio. All right, you guys. So here are some movie dog tricks that I consider fundamental. And Spider's doing one of them right now, and that's called getting on a platform with all four paws, okay? The second movie dog trick is called getting on a platform with two paws. We call that paws up or perch. And the third movie dog trick is touching a target with one paw. So we've got one paw, two paws. Come here. Well, we do have two paws. He's not going to do it. He's eager to show you guys what we have in store for you. We got all paws. So the thing we're going to show you today is touching a target with one paw. Targets are used in movies all the time. Here's an example of a target. Spider, sit, touch, good boy. And then we reward. We start by acclimating, getting the dog curious about the target. He's interested in it. He begins, what is this thing? Yeah, he begins to touch it. Then we reward the dog for touching it, just being curious about the target. And you can even develop this into a paw shake. I've got the target right there in my hand. And when he touches it, I reward him. And now this time, when he tries to touch it, you watch, I'm going to move the target out of my hand. Sit, touch. See that, how I just pull the target out? Touch. Good job, buddy. And so that's a great way to teach it. The paw shake. You know, come here, Spider. Why do we love the paw shake? It says that we're connected. Come on, buddy. Up here now. You know, the paw shake says that we're connected, that we share a language, and that we're safe. That's the paw shake. So you also use a target on movie sets all the time to teach a dog to go to certain places. So I'll show you that right now. I have one target over here. Okay, we'll go to target. Good boy. So we'll call that mark A. Wait. Good boy. And I have another target over here. Good boy. And that's mark B. And on film sets, that's called an A to B. Over there. Good. Over here. And the way we teach that is we start with the targets relatively close together. And little by little, we lure the dog to another target. Start moving them farther apart. Go target. And we're phasing out now the treats and using the air cookies. Rewarding with the other hand, and eventually that becomes a signal. Go target, go target. Now in movie sets, the targets won't be so visible as they are here, but they will be small. In fact, sometimes even invisible, meaning that the dog understands. Good boy, good. Take a bow. Atta boy, Spider. So that's an introduction to targets. We are going to get Spider busy with his busy box. And if you've seen the show before, you've noticed that Spider has all kinds of things going on so that he can be busy while we get the show going. So here we are. We have treats wrapped up inside of these little towels. And you can do this at home, newspapers and a box that you have. Little by little, Spider has learned more and more. So I wrap the treats tighter. So it takes him longer, hopefully, to get the treats. Wait there, buddy. Wait. Right there. All right, go to town, Spider. All right. So what movies, do you have some favorite dog performances? Go ahead and let us know in the Facebook chat, because chances are that today's special guest has worked with these animal actors and filmmakers. One of my favorites is the recent movie, The Art of Racing in the Rain. My brother Paul gave me that book, The Art of Racing in the Rain, many years ago, and I loved it, and it recently became a movie. So today's guest is Jone Bouman. She's the National Director for the Animal Protection Agency, which helps movie and television productions to keep animal actors safe. She was a National Director for the American Humane Association Film and TV Unit. Jone has also kept human actors safe. She conducted USO military tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, booked stand-up comedians, worked on Saturday Night Live and David Letterman and NBC Nightly News. And Jone and I have made films together with shelter dogs that you can see on Positively Woof's YouTube channel. So let us welcome to Dog Hugs, Jone Bouman. Hello, Jone. Yay, it is great.
Here's Quigden.
Quigden, oh, it's been such a long time since we've seen each other, buddy. Yes.
Yeah, look, it's Uncle Larry, Twig.
That is
Twigden and I worked with you for quite some time doing all sorts of fabulous videos using shelter dogs to help in the build awareness about shelter and adoption and how important that is. So Twigden was on set with us many times.
Oh my God. Yeah, in fact, in the chat, we're putting a link to a film that Twigden has been in. Now, one film that was very important to me personally that we got to work on was the 4th of July film that we'll also put a link to in the chat. Because you know what I met on the 4th of July film.
I recall exactly those moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 years ago.
Wow. Yeah. So that's the film where this great shelter, Pet Orphans of Southern California, we made these films and they really trusted us to do this kind of thing. Well, we were making this 4th of July film, and on that day, Jone, you'll remember the shelter brought out 12 dogs, and we began our process of trick training and making this film. Well, out of these 12 dogs, there was just one dog who was especially rough. This Australian cattle dog who looked and sounded like he'd walked straight out of the Mad Max movies. And you could barely—
This is true.
You could barely touch this dog, and the shelter, Pet Orphans, had given this dog the perfect name. They named him Spider. Well, Spider had a history. He'd been adopted before, given up on, adopted again, given up on again. It might have been 3 strikes you're out, but fortunately, Pet Orphans pulled him off of death row. But in this film, you know, I think all the other dogs got adopted right away, but Spider, all he could do was, you know, sit for 5 whole seconds.
Yeah, if we were lucky. But, you know, he had a heart of gold, and you saw that. You saw through all of that. And I remember, you know, he's super high energy, as are almost all cattle dogs. It's just part of the personality trait that you get because they're working dogs. And so
right now. He always needs a job, even if it's just getting treats.
Yeah, so that was a very special moment that I got to be part of, you know, sort of witnessing your very first meeting with Spider, who has now had you as his, you know, doggy dad for 5 years soon. And, you know, you are fortunate and so is he. And, you know, that was the point of those videos that we were doing at the time, was to really help to build awareness about all the good dogs that are in the shelters, because so many of the animals in the shelters, for whatever reason, have had a bad rap. That is finally starting to change a little bit. And, you know,
it is so true. We've said and that the biggest reason that shelter dogs don't get adopted is lack of training. So what if we train them like movie dogs, Joan? Because
there you go. There's the
one of
premise.
those dogs, this, is that undiscovered movie star. Every dog, not just some dogs, but all dogs' lives can be enriched.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right? Mwah.
Right, Twig.
This is true. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. So
Twig is a shelter dog too.
That's right. Yeah. So I want to talk about the Animal Protection Agency, Joan.
Me too.
What a coincidence.
I want to talk about Animal Protection Agency.
What does the Animal Protection Agency actually do once on set when an animal's being filmed?
Okay, these are things that I could go on about for a long time, but I know we don't have a long time today, so I'm going to give you as succinct an answer as I can, and just know that many of these answers, there are more details to them, but basically, Animal Protection Agency acts as an overall advisor and consultancy during filming, and there are many, many things going on, but, we have animal welfare law experience, which is very unusual, and we offer that. And that's an important thing because we can address all those local and federal animal welfare laws so that production is aware of what they have to do. And we establish the guidelines for the safe use of animals. And frankly, we also request to be part of pre-production when those behaviors are starting to be trained. So that
explain what pre-production means.
Okay, so let's say you've got we were talking about racing in the rain. So part of the scenes will call for a dog to be able to sit up straight and maybe look out the window of a race car. Mm-hmm. Well, that has to be trained, and it has to be trained humanely. So pre-production is that period of time called prep, when that dog is not on sit yet, but maybe what has to be done is training that dog to sit in a small race car seat and then turn its head to look out the window at a noise. So that capture that behavior, and then that captured behavior is then reproduced actually on set later on down the road, whether it's days, month, weeks, or even a month later.
Right. We don't bring the dog right to the set on day one and say, hey, your dog knows how to do this trick. Good luck.
No, we have to know, the production has to supply us with all advanced behaviors that will be expected so that we can do those behaviors and train those behaviors by positive reinforcement only.
Bravo.
In pre-production, so that when we get on set, that dog is already acclimated, comfortable, and knows on cue to look out the window in the race car.
Yes.
That's what
you mentioned positive reinforcement. Our brand here is called Positively Woof because of that.
Right.
And who doesn't love rewards over punishments? Well, it turns out that rewards work better for all of us, whether we're two-leggeds or four-leggeds or whatever leggeds to be.
Well, this is true. And it's not only true, but it's part of why APA exists, is because we insist upon that. And you will not earn that disclaimer at the end of the movie that says, protecting animals in production, ensuring safety. That doesn't just get thrown out. That production has to earn that end credit disclaimer.
Beautiful.
And so that's part of the deal. That's why we have to be on set watching everything.
Yeah.
And overseeing all of that action.
Talk about some of the interesting guidelines that the Animal Protection Agency uses to keep animals safe during filming?
Oh my gosh, there are many, and they are usually broken down into segments. And they can be anything from guidelines for the safe use of dogs, horses, wildlife, birds, insects, you name it. So, even something like, birds and insects, we won't allow dry ice or fog to be used when they're on set because they are very sensitive to those elements. So that's a no-no, and we will refuse to allow those conditions on set while a bird or an insect, or I believe a reptile, yes, or reptiles. They're all very sensitive to things like dry ice and fog, machines and things. So that's a no.
That's really interesting. So now I'm beginning to understand that you guys even represent the safety and welfare if we're going to bring flies or maggots onto set.
It's true, and it's necessary. Here's the philosophy. Here's the philosophy we have to abide by, and that we take super seriously. Whether it's a fly, a maggot, a horse, a fox, a possum, a rhinoceros, whatever it is, these are sentient beings. Amen. And if they arrive on set in the morning, healthy and alive, we insist that they leave set that day healthy and alive. Right. So let's say there's a horror movie and the scene is buzzing flies at a window, which, is kind of an indicator of something dastardly happening. Well, there are actually, insect wranglers that specialize in insects. So we will make sure that, believe it or not, that those flies are accounted for. And that nobody wants them.
It makes sense. There's no sense in just swatting flies.
No, I get that we all do it at home. I understand that. And it's not about that. It's about under this structure, the philosophy, it has to be that everybody is protected. Amen. Or the center doesn't hold. Yes. So if you say yes, okay, you can kill a worm. Well, then, next thing you know, a couple days later, like, well, you let us kill the worm. So how about this little snake? Oh, okay. Well, you let us kill the snake. So how about the chick? And then it goes on. So the center doesn't hold. So it is imperative to follow the philosophy that all sentient beings must not be harmed for the sake of entertainment.
Yes. And the fact of the matter is we can keep them safe.
Yeah, that's it. It's necessary. It's how it should be, and that's a big part of why we are doing this important work that we do, and why we take it so seriously, and certainly why we have such professional people doing it.
Yes. So here's an example of a shot from a film that you guys did out in a forest, and beautiful golden retriever, by the way. So what's an example of some safety that might be here out in a forest?
Okay, so there are different conditions when you are outdoors as opposed to on a stage or a sound studio or a set or something like that. And outdoors, again, for the sake of brevity, one of the things that we're going to look at first is weather conditions. If it is a blazingly hot day, well, then we're going to make sure that as that scene is being set up, that there is respite for that dog in a shady area, quiet, and someplace that he can cool down and rest between takes, etc. If it's going to rain, then we do something different. Then we'll make sure that production supplies a waterproof tarp in an area. So weather would be one of those examples of something that we look at outdoors that we can't control, but that we have to have these guidelines in place to do our best to make sure that everybody's safe and happy and their well-being is being looked after. And that's what we do.
Yes. And what are some of the challenges when, for example, here's a shot from the art of racing in the rain. Here's indoors. How do we keep animals safe indoors when we're filming indoors?
Oh, there are lots of different guidelines depending on the animal action. And we usually break down animal action by degree. So there's mild animal action, and you were showing that earlier with what we call the simple A to B,
Mhm.
or also known as dog,
One mark to
dog on a
another.
couch.
A dog on a couch.
Dog on a couch. That's
Yeah.
another word for
Instead of a dog getting on a platform, the dog gets on a couch.
dog gets on a couch. So say you've got a set on a movie where it's a family scene and the family's all gathered in the living room to have coffee and chat. Well, and the director, for whatever reason, and the writer, they've placed a dog. The family dog has to be in that scene, but he's really just laying there. Well, then, for instance, that would be considered dog on a couch, mild action. Then there's moderate action, and then and and it goes, there's also more intense action. So we usually break it down like that. But even with a dog on a couch, let's say that that scene where the dog is going to really just be hanging out. Let's say it also calls for the father having a glass of wine and placing that glass of wine on an end table next to the couch. Well, that glass of wine, we're going to say that glass of wine has to be plastic, nothing toxic. Because what if the dog gets up, wags its tail, breaks the glass, steps it? So
Right.
we're always looking at the big picture. Like I said earlier, everybody has their job to do. Our job is to look at everything with this trained eye and be able to put all the moving pieces in place to make sure that even that smallest thing is handled.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. On a film set like this, there's all kinds of stuff off screen that the crew is going to be doing, stuff that the dog could trip over, or the safety issues there.
Here's one for you.
Yeah.
Like horses, okay? There are predators and prey in the animal world. So horses are prey beings, and a lion is going to be a predator. Well, horses will sometimes spook over a long cable on the ground because to them it looks like a snake. Right?
Yeah.
So you've got cables all over the place, whether it's in the studio or out. So, we'll be thinking in terms of, like everybody else is doing their thing. And the guy who's dragging the cables around isn't thinking about the fact that that horse could spook because he sees the cable move. And to him, that horse is like, is that a snake?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So we got to be thinking about that stuff.
Right.
And with that, we do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad that you guys are looking at that, and that's what your job is, to look at that stuff all the time. Because I know how easily, even with Spider on this little show, I get distracted easily. And by the way, let's see how Spider's doing right now.
Okay, and I'm gonna bring on McGee.
Oh, good. He's doing pretty well. Looks like he's ready soon for his next bunch of treats. I'm looking forward to meeting McGee here. Yeah. Hello, McGee. I'm so glad to meet you, my friend. Look at that. Yeah.
Say hi,
Tell us
McGee.
about McGee.
It's the good boy. Yeah, I found McGee on the street.
Yeah.
And he was malnourished, and he had eye infection, ear infection, infested with fleas, no collar, no chip, no nothing. I fostered him, and of course, look at this. How could I not be a foster fail? So, Also, one of the things we like to do at Animal Protection Agency is work with the studios, or the production companies, places like Netflix, wherever, to say, let's leave a green footprint behind. Let's leave the situation, after filming, let's leave it better than it was even before. Wow. And one of those things is that's a big premise of what Animal Protection Agency stands for. And again, our philosophy on what we want to do is to help production look at things from the perspective of how do you make that community that you filmed in do even better. So maybe it's things like leaving behind awareness for the local shelters, or maybe donating some money for the local shelters. Or, there are so many things we can do and so many things we want to do to really up the game when it comes to animal protection in film. There's a lot you can do.
Yeah, I love that. Now, you've mentioned horses, and here's a shot of a cow.
The
Tell us about this one
bovine.
here.
Yeah, that was for a Dixie Chicks video.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can see the Dixie Chicks there. And so we were there as the voice of the cow.
Nice. That's great. And then here's another video. You guys at home may recognize this artist.
Taylor Swift and her cat, Benjamin Button.
Now that's her cat. And even,
that is her cat.
Even with her cat, and again, remind us the name of this video.
Oh, the video we were on was called Lover.
Lover. Great. And we'll provide a link to that in the chat as well. And you'll see now that that's her cat. Why
that is her cat.
The Animal Protection Agency to be on set when it's Taylor Swift's own cat?
Well, I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, in that everybody has a job to do. As much as that's her personal cat, it's when that cat is home with Taylor, it's not being expected to to be in a busy environment with people moving and loud noises and all that sort of thing going on. And it's a busy place. And Taylor needs to sing, for crying out loud. So,
that takes a lot of focus.
Takes a lot of focus, and everybody has their job. And our job is to be there to just keep an eye on making sure everything is safe and sound, because don't forget, part of what Animal Protection Agency does is we not only ensure the safety of the animals, but the cast and crew that work with them.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Like, I can't tell you how many times, an actor will put down on their resume, oh, I can ride a horse. That happens all the time. But the truth of the matter is, most of them have been on a horse a couple times, but that's about as far as it goes. Yeah, so they're not really all that proficient. Although I will say, on the set of Django Unchained, Jamie Foxx.
Yes,
that was a Quentin Tarantino movie. Right. Wonderful movie, and Jamie Foxx is a real horseman.
Really?
And so that was wonderful.
Well, he does quite some riding in that film. So. He
does a lot of riding. So that really helped us out. But I will say that's a rarity. Yeah. And so in making sure that the Animal Protection Agency guidelines are established and functioning and being adhered to, again, it keeps the animals safe, but it's going to keep that mediocre horse rider actor guy safe too.
Yeah. Now, what are some shows that Animal Protection Agency has provided this kind of humane oversight?
Well, we were lucky enough somewhat recently to be on a movie called Bios, which has not been released yet, and that stars Tom Hanks. And Tom Hanks has a very constant buddy of a dog on that film with him. So that, Tom Hanks and the dog were in the vast majority of all the scenes together on that film. That will be released. We were also on a movie called The Good House somewhat recently. That's with Sigourney Weaver and Kevin Kline. Wow. We were on Barb and Star, Go to Vista Del Mar. That's with Kristen Wiig. And yeah, none of those have been released yet. Those are some of the more recent ones that we were on. But, there's a gap time between end of production and
the time you guys on set, and then they finally wrap all the filming. Then comes the editing time.
Right. All that has to be done. So there's a gap. So those are some of the recent ones. We also do commercials. We've done Pizza Hut and McDonald's and American Airlines and Geico and Gucci and tons of things like that. Because, how many times do you see animals in commercials?
All the time.
All the time. Yeah. So, yeah, we love what we do. And everyone Animal Protection Agency is very, very well versed in working with animals in this particular capacity.
Yes. No, you've
You know,
mentioned,
being on set, it's
yeah,
a different world. So you might be someone who loves animals and maybe even works with them in some capacity, but our advisors and consultants that go on set, we're professionals in a way that we not only bring that extreme knowledge base of understanding animals, but also understanding the process of filming and what that takes.
yeah.
So we're really proud of our people that work with us.
Yes. Now you've mentioned before that when you go to a shoot that you love to leave the place even better than when you found it, and I really hear that spirit is part of Animal Protection Agency's mission. Now, and I know
This
that
is true.
the organizations that you all work with directly to provide animal welfare. Who do you want to give a shout out to today?
Okay, well, another component of Animal Protection Agency, which differentiates us from the few other people out there that are doing this kind of work, is that one of the elements that we're involved in is rescue and rehab. Jamie Lavulo, who is the founder of Animal Protection Agency, does tremendous work in those areas. And she wanted to make sure that we gave a shout out to WildWorks and Wildlife Care of Southern California.
Yeah. Well
He
done.
has, there's a great organizations. Jamie has worked with them. She right now actually has, it's springtime, so lots of babies are being born, and Jamie has is taking care of newborn raccoons, squirrels, and I want to say possibly an opossum right now as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. This is truly, this is a 24/7 kind of job here.
Yeah, well, we love what we do, and it's something that we're committed to, and we do from the heart. And we're really fortunate to be able to do this work. There's,
Beautiful.
there's just a lot of heart and soul that goes into it. We care deeply, and we're super committed.
Yes. Jone, as you know, on Dog Hugs, a big part of the show is gratitude and blessing. Is there somebody in your life or in the world today who you want to extend some gratitude to or a blessing to?
Well, we talked about them earlier, and I want to bring them back up again because they do have a special place in my heart, and that's Pet Orphans of Southern California.
Beautiful.
Suzanne and the team over there, Joe and everybody, they have a real special, they have a special place in my heart. They do a fabulous job. It's not an easy job. And so I am grateful for people like that. They're on the front lines and that are doing that work, because just thank you, Pet Orphans.
Amen. Yeah.
Yeah.
McGee.
McGee.
In addition to Pet Orphans, my gratitude today goes out to my brother Paul. That's the brother who introduced me to the book, The Art of Racing in the Rain, that became that film that you guys worked on.
Yeah.
And looking at Paul also today, because he's working outside. You know, he's building a building right now, and you know that work doesn't stop. And so my gratitude and blessing goes to, along with my brother Paul, all people who are working outside.
Well, ditto that, my friend. I'm right on the same page with you on that. There is a lot to be grateful for. It's a chaotic world right now. We're all doing the best we can. And I will also say that, one of the real silver linings to all of this is the amount of shelter animals that are being fostered and adopted right now. So how cool is that?
Beautiful. That is so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dawn, it's great to share this show with you. Great to see you. Great to meet
you with you, Larry.
Yeah. And to all of you who are watching, we really love doing this show for you. And thank you again for making.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye,
Thank
Joe.
you very much.
Guys, again soon.